Hey everyone, welcome back to Real Talk Horror. I'm your host Josh, and I'm thrilled to have you here for another mini episode. These bite-sized reviews are all about getting straight to the point, spoiler-free of course, while giving you the highlights of a film I've just recently watched. Whether it's a cult classic, an indie gem, or a modern fright fest, I'm here to help you decide if it's worth adding to your watch list. Today, we're looking at Terrifier 2, the much anticipated sequel to the 2016 cult hit that introduced us to one of the most terrifying modern horror villains, Art the Clown. Now, if you thought the first movie pushed the limits of gore and insanity, trust me, this one cranks it up to 11. It had me asking one big question: how much crazier can Art get? Spoiler alert, he doesn't just answer that question, he obliterates it. By the end of this episode, I'll give you my rating, but before we get there, let's unpack what makes this one such a wild and unforgettable ride. Buckle up, horror fans. It's about to get messy. So what's Terrifier 2 all about? Well, this one's bloody, over-the-top horror extravaganza that's equal parts slasher film and surreal nightmare. The story picks up right after the events of the first Terrifier, with Art the Clown back from the dead, or wherever a sadistic otherworldly clown like him comes from, and ready to unleash even more chaos. This time, his targets are a teenage girl named Sienna and her younger brother Jonathan, as they navigate a Halloween night filled with terror, mystery, and some truly jaw-dropping moments. The film was again written and directed by Damien Leone, who also helmed the first Terrifier, and you can tell he's up the ante in every way imaginable. Released in 2022, this sequel didn't just build on the foundation of the first film, it completely shattered the expectations, quickly earning cult status among horror fans. And let's talk about why. It's infamous for pushing the boundaries of gore and practical effects, featuring some of the most creative, brutal kill sequences I've ever seen in a slasher. Seriously, the craftsmanship behind the carnage is almost, dare I say, artful. But what's even cooler is that the film was crowdfunded by fans to some degree, which speaks volumes about how much love there is for this character Art the Clown and his unique brand of terror. And Leone delivers in spades, giving the audience not just the gore they crave, but also a surprisingly ambitious story with a mythology that feels much bigger than the first film. It's not just a sequel, it's a full-on spectacle, and it grabs your attention right from the start. But what does it do well? Well, honestly, there's a lot to celebrate here. First, the practical effects. Damien Leone and his team didn't just push the envelope, they shredded the thing. The kill sequences are jaw-dropping, grotesque, and shockingly creative. It's clear every moment of gore was crafted with precision and a twisted kind of artistry. This isn't just splatter for shock value. Each scene feels like its own macabre masterpiece, designed to stick with you long after the film ends. And then shift to Lauren Lavera, who absolutely shines as Sienna. She is wonderful in this film. She's a mix of vulnerability and then strength and determination, and it makes her an instant addition to the Horror Hall of Fame. As the final girl, she's not just surviving, she's fighting back in ways that make you cheer for her. Her character is well developed, and Lavera brings a level of emotional depth that's rare in a slasher film. She's more than a match for Art the Clown, and their dynamic adds so much to the tension to the film. And speaking of art, David Howard Thornton once again proves why this character is becoming a modern icon. He balances terrifying menace with unsettling humor in a way that's entertaining and unnerving. Art's silent, exaggerated expressions make him unpredictable, and that unpredictability keeps us on the edge of our seat. And let's not forget the sheer ambition of this film. At over 2 hours, Terrifier 2 takes a big risk for a slasher movie. But instead of dragging, it uses that runtime to really flesh out who these characters are and to build that tension and to dive into more mysterious mythology surrounding art. It's a bold move, but it really pays off. This ends up not just being a horror film. It's an experience, and one that feels tailor-made for fans who want more than standard genre fare. Now, as much as I love Terrifier 2, as you can tell, it's not without flaws, and for a film as bold as this one, those rough edges can stand out. Again, the runtime, bold, ambitious, and it works for the most part, clocking in at over 2 hours. This is a type of film that really thrives on quick, punchy pacing. I appreciate the effort to give us more of that character development and a deeper story. There are stretches, though, particularly in the middle when we're getting to meet Sienna's friends, that feel unnecessarily drawn out. A few scenes could have been trimmed or tightened to keep the momentum going without losing the film's impact. Another area where some viewers might struggle is the gore. Don't get me wrong, the practical effects are phenomenal, but they're also relentless. This movie doesn't just push the envelope, like I said, it tears it to shreds. So for fans of extreme horror, that's a win. But for anyone who's a little squeamish, it can feel overwhelming. The violence is so intense and so prolonged in some scenes that it risks desensitizing the audience and taking away some of the emotional weight of the carnage. And then there's the story. I admire Leone's willingness to embrace a more surreal and mythological angle. Some of those abstract elements, though, don't quite land. Particularly towards the end, around the sword. I'm not going to talk about it. It just feels like it's kind of Deus Ex Machina. It's God in the machine. It doesn't quite work for me. But the film flirts with symbolism and deeper meaning, and it really, most of it works. There's just some things that are disjointed or come from out of nowhere. I don't want to give any spoilers, but that said, none of these issues, not one of them, are a deal breaker. Unless you hate gore, then I'd say stay away. But they're more like speed bumps on an otherwise thrilling ride. Terrifier 2 is a film that swings for the fences. And while it doesn't just hit home runs, its ambition, sheer audacity more than make up for any of those missteps. Overall, this is an absolutely wild, over-the-top ride. It's a blood-soaked spectacle that is not afraid to go big or go bold. It's the kind of sequel that takes everything that fans loved about the first movie, and even the movie before that, All Hallows Eve, made up of the 2 original short films. From the jaw-dropping kills to the surprising amount of character development, this film proves that horror sequels can not only live up to predecessors, but sometimes even surpass them. What stands out most is how unapologetic this movie is. It leans fully into its identity as a brutal, boundary-pushing slasher, while also giving us a protagonist we can truly root for. Sienna's journey brings heart and stakes to the chaos, balancing out the unrelenting madness of Art the Clown's reign of terror. And speaking of Art, he continues to cement his status as one of the most unique and unsettling horror villains of our time, blending comedy and pure evil in a way few villains can. That said, again, this is not for everyone. This is a film for hardcore horror fans. People who can handle the gore, the intensity, and a runtime that might feel a little indulgent at times. But for those willing to take the plunge, this is an experience you won't forget anytime soon. For me, I give Terrifier 2 a solid 8 out of 10 for its groundbreaking effects, incredible performances, and sheer audacity to swing for the fences. It's a must-watch film for fans of the genre And trust me, this is one we'll be revisiting in a future full-length episode where we'll dive even deeper into the madness. So stay tuned for that. Probably going to wait for Terrifier 4, where Leone says the story will end. At that point, we'll recap the entire series from the shorts through to the end. But as always, I just want to thank everyone for hanging out with me for this mini episode of Real Talk Horror. I always have a blast diving into these quick reviews, and I hope you do too. If you like what you heard, be sure to hit that subscribe button so you never miss an episode. And hey, while you're at it, take a second to rate the show and leave me a review. It's a small thing, but it makes a big difference in helping us grow this awesome horror-loving community. You can also keep up with us between episodes on Instagram and Threads at Real Talk. I post updates, bonus content, and other behind-the-scenes type fun, so don't miss out on the conversation. And for what's next, we'll be back on Friday with our normal full-length episode of the 80s cult classic, The Gate. If you love creepy movies with kids, demons, practical effects that still kind of hold up, trust me, you'll want to tune in for this one. Until then, stay spooky, stay safe, and always remember the best scares are always real. Catch you next time, everyone.